Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something pretty central to making global climate action actually work. It's all about how countries can cooperate, specifically looking at some new UN tools.
That's right. We're focusing on Article 6 of the Paris Agreement and drilling down into, well, one specific tool called the Paris Agreement crediting mechanism. Our sources give us a good look at it.
Okay, great. So our mission today is basically to break down how this PACM thing works, based on what our sources say, what it's supposed to do, and maybe what difference it could make.
Mhm.
Article 6 itself, it's fundamentally about countries helping each other hit their climate targets, right? Voluntarily.
Exactly. The idea is it can boost international efforts, and really importantly, it's meant to help unlock finance, especially getting funds flowing to developing countries. That's a key aspect highlighted in the material.
And part of that involves trading carbon credits.
Yes, countries can transfer credits they earn from cutting emissions. It offers flexibility, potentially makes things more cost-effective overall.
Gotcha. And this PACM, the Paris Agreement crediting mechanism, the sources position it as like the UN's new gold standard for high integrity carbon credits under Article 6. So how does it actually ensure that high integrity? That's the big question.
Well, what's interesting from the sources is how it's framed. It's not just about offsetting emissions somewhere else. It's really built to help countries raise their own climate ambition, go further than they maybe could alone.
Okay.
And also to make hitting their national plans, their NDCs, more affordable. It does this by setting up a clear process, identifying projects that really do cut emissions, verifiably, additionally, and then issuing credits that can attract investment.
Right. So who's doing the cutting and how do these credits, move around?
Yeah, the source material gives a pretty straightforward example. Imagine a company, maybe even a government project, in one country. Say they build a solar farm instead of a planned coal plant.
Yeah.
Or they do a massive energy efficiency upgrade.
Okay.
If that project meets all the strict PACM rules, proving the reductions are real, measurable, and additional.
Additional meaning they wouldn't have just happened anyway?
Exactly. That's crucial. If it ticks all those boxes, it gets registered. Then it's issued credits.
And then those credits can be sold internationally?
Precisely. They can be transferred, maybe to another country needing to meet its target, or a company within that country aiming for net zero, perhaps.
Okay.
And a really critical part of the integrity, according to the sources, is something called corresponding adjustments. Basically, the country where the reduction happened has to adjust its own national emissions accounting. It sort of uncounts that reduction.
Ah, so you don't get double counting. Same reduction isn't claimed twice globally.
Exactly. That's fundamental for trust in the whole system.
Makes sense. And you mentioned finance earlier. The sources say this mechanism also acts as a source of climate finance.
Absolutely. That's a really significant point they emphasize. The PACM is designed to channel money, especially towards developing nations. There's a specific rule.
Okay.
A share of the proceeds from every credit transfer automatically goes to adaptation funding.
Wow. Okay. So actual money for adaptation. For helping vulnerable countries build resilience.
Yes, directly helping them cope with the climate impacts they're already facing. It connects the market mechanism to tangible adaptation support.
That's a powerful link. So how is this whole thing governed? It sounds complex, managing integrity, finance flows globally.
It is complex. The sources point out it's overseen by a dedicated 12-member supervisory body. And this body operates under the main Paris Agreement governing body, the CMA.
Right.
The actual rulebook, the detailed procedures for how projects get approved, how credits are issued, how those adjustments work. That was all hammered out and agreed at CMA 3. Decision 3, CMA.3, that's the foundation.
Okay, CMA 3 set the stage. So, pulling this all together, we have this PACM mechanism designed for high integrity emission reduction credits, transferable across borders, avoids double counting, and automatically sends some money to adaptation funds, all under UN supervision based on rules set at CMA 3.
That's a good summary of how the sources describe its design and intent.
So here's something to chew on as we wrap up. Considering this whole structure, the focus on integrity, the link to adaptation finance, the cross-border trading, how might the actual success, or maybe even the struggles, of this particular mechanism end up reshaping global climate finance? And maybe more fundamentally, how countries actually plan and implement their own national climate strategies in the coming years? Worth thinking about.